language
Yes,
and immersing them
for
in
sure.
that as well. I encourage parental involvement by inviting parents to attend. At Lake Alfred Elementary, we have, and I'll speak about that again actually, but at Lake Alfred Elementary, we have reading nights where we invite families to come,
Okay.
and we do, and I'll explain that. But and then there's many activities, reading activities, kindergarten through fifth
Okay.
grade, and the parents get to go to each station, so
Mhm.
they can kind of experience and see what's happening in each grade as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
We have math nights, science nights. We have recently introduced a multicultural family night, and we invite the parents. We send out a flyer and
Mhm.
invite the parents to please come in and bring in food from their culture, or bring
That's so
in dress
cool.
from their culture,
Yeah.
bringing in their culture. We set up different stations,
Okay.
and then parents come and can learn about the different cultures
That's really
that are
cool.
involved in our school. And
Yeah.
that has been a big hit. It
Really.
was very, I want to say, I could be wrong, I want to say that last year was the first time that we did it,
Mhm.
and it was a big turnout. It was a very,
Okay.
very big turnout,
Good.
and the food was really good.
Yeah.
The food was good.
I'm
I
sure,
happened to
yeah.
stay,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, it was, we had, they went all
That's
out
so cool.
and made great food.
Yeah.
But that was
Well,
really
people
good.
love to share about themselves, so
Yes, yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
they were
I'm
all over that.
hoping we've sent those flyers out, and our
Mhm.
multicultural night this year is going to be in November.
Okay.
And I am hoping that,
But there's
I
a
have
big,
not had any return their
yeah.
form this year, but I am hoping that we do throughout the school. We do have
Mhm.
parents that would like to share their culture.
Yeah.
But I have a recent experience. I stayed for math night,
Yeah.
and I noticed we had a lot of, we had English parents, of course, too. We had a
Right.
lot of Spanish parents, and
Okay.
I noticed the student was interpreting for moms and dads.
Yeah.
They were telling them what they were going to play at our first grade center and at the kindergarten
Mhm.
center I was watching. They spoke no English, the mom and dad, but
Wow.
they brought them,
Wow, that's great.
and I thought that was commendable,
Yeah.
to those parents, because they brought them and wanted to see what was going on at school
Mhm.
and learn about the school culture, and
Yeah.
so
That's really
so
cool.
that's one of the first steps,
Yeah.
at getting them involved. I know we have a long way to go, but
Right.
I feel like we are certainly striving for that here at Lake Alfred Elementary.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Can you share a time when parental involvement had an unexpected or surprising effect, either negative or positive?
Yes, I can. I actually, this just happened last year. I had a student last year who had behavior problems. He was not motivated. He bullied others, was struggling academically.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to his guardians. He was not living with a mother or a father.
Okay.
It was a little bit of a sad situation, but I reached out to his guardians and had a face-to-face conference with them, because we needed to kind of see what was going on. First of
Yeah.
all, I thought, oh, we'll get through this. Well, no, and
Mm-hmm.
I realized I need to reach out to them. I met with our grade level, first grade level. We talked about some strategies to implement. I met with the admin team, because I knew this child could be successful.
Yeah.
And my ultimate goal is that he was successful. And they suggested different strategies to address these issues.
Mm-hmm.
They had to intervene at times when there were bullying situations and call
Right.
parents. So there was a lot of communicating with the guardians.
Yeah.
I communicated with the guardians daily after
Mm-hmm.
that,
Yeah.
through email, through text. They were on speed dial on my phone,
Okay.
through phone calls. The student had a teacher that he checked in with daily in fifth grade, to continue motivating the student. We started a star chart with him, and it was a daily chart,
Okay.
and it was broken down hourly by each subject. And he had to receive a certain amount of stars, and we didn't want to put too many goals on that chart, so we
Mm-hmm.
included about 3 goals.
Okay.
And then when he would master some of those goals, sometimes we'd take one away and we would change it to another goal.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a little time at first, but he began to get motivated. He was not bullying like he was before. There were maybe a couple
Yeah.
instances, but nothing like he had done before. When he would go to that teacher at the end of every day, they would give him cheers. They would dance for him if he had a great
Yeah.
day. He would get treats. He loved the
Oh.
attention. The guardians also arranged for an outside therapist to come in because
Okay.
if you don't communicate with them, they don't know what's going on and they can't, help. But they
Mhm.
were very willing. They had someone come in. She came in weekly, once a week. She'd pull
Wow.
him for about an hour. I mean, he
Yeah.
did miss, but he needed that. And
Yeah.
she still comes. He's in second grade
Really.
now. She still comes. I see them
Yeah.
meeting. She comes once a week, and works with that student. His grades began to improve. Relationships with teachers and other students
Mhm.
began to improve, as well as improved test scores, whether they be standardized
Yeah.
or weekly tests or, formal, informal. I was very pleased and surprised with the positive outcome,
Yeah.
and the effect that the guardian involvement, the teacher
Mhm.
involvement, and the admin involvement had on his behavioral and academic performance.
Yeah. That's good that
Yeah.
changed. What advice would you give parents who want to support their child in their education but they're not sure how to?
I would encourage parents to reach out to the school and the teacher first,
Mhm.
as the first step, and then request a face to face conference. I could send times and dates that I'm available,
Mhm.
and that's something I didn't mention, but there have been times that I've had to stay till 6 o'clock. I mean, parents can't, and
Yeah.
I'm willing to do that if I can meet with that parent face to
Right.
face. I, of course, will do telephone conferences, but I do feel the most effective way is face to face.
Mhm.
So request a face to face conference with the teacher. Ask about any materials that they can use at home to improve academic achievement. And
Mhm.
I'm more than willing to send any of that stuff home
Yeah.
that they can continue to practice at
Mhm.
home. I would also suggest that the parents ask the teacher what the best way would be to communicate with the teacher.
Mhm.
So make sure that when you're meeting with your child's teacher, how can I get a hold of you? Is it better for me to email you?
Yeah.
Is it better for me to call you? Is it better for me to
Mhm.
text you?
Yeah.
What would you prefer? And
Right.
then I always give a little clause and tell the parent, please allow 28 to 48 hours. Of course, if it's an emergency, continue, and I will
Yes.
get back. But there are times that I'm away from my computer or
Mhm.
away from I purposely don't have email on my phone.
Yeah.
So I have to have my computer open and ready to see some of those.
Yeah.
And they're usually pretty good with that. But I encourage the parent to ask the teacher, how do I best communicate with you? And let
Okay.
the teacher give some of
Yes.
those reasons or those ways. Um, Ask any questions or express any concerns that you have when you go to meet with your child's teacher.
Mhm.
Express those concerns. I'm concerned about this child. My child comes home and talks about this child every day doing
Mhm.
this or doing
Yeah.
that. And then if the teacher does not know, they cannot solve that
Right.
problem. So they
Yeah.
can move the child. They can,
Mhm.
because the kids are going home and telling them who knows what. I
Yeah. Right.
always say, I won't believe half of what they say about you if you don't believe half of what they say happens here.
Yeah.
But they talk, of course, which is a great thing,
Mhm.
but you need to be aware of anything.
Yeah.
So I say, please express concerns, because sometimes parents will be here and I say that at the very end. Do you have any questions or concerns?
Mhm.
And then they won't. Then
Right.
later they'll,
They'll
reach out to
add
me
on.
and. But I am a proponent for making a list, writing it down before you go to a meeting,
Yeah.
just so, because I don't remember either. So,
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah, and that was the last thing, just making sure that you express when you're talking to the teacher any questions or concerns that you
Okay.
may have.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good first step,
Mhm.
to giving to parents who want to support their child's academic success and
Yeah.
education and begin to get involved in school.
At the beginning of the school year, do you meet with every child's parents or is it
I'm in the process of doing that now. We
Okay.
are a Title I school. We do get Title I funds, and one
Mhm.
of the requirements is that we do meet with every parent.
Okay.
I've only met at this point with 4. I had several conferences canceled during the
Yeah.
hurricane,
Yeah.
so I am behind. But my goal is to try to meet with every child's parent by
Okay.
Christmas.
Okay.
Now I do meet them at back to school night
Yes.
or orientation when they bring their
Mhm.
child for the first time. I
Mhm.
meet them then.
Yeah.
But of course, when there's 18, and we don't have great turnout, but this year I
Right.
think I had 14 or 15
Okay.
parents that I met. And then I can schedule a conference then if they want to begin talking to me then when they're all the parents
Mhm.
are here. I said, love to talk to you, but let's go ahead
Yeah.
and schedule a conference and then we can come and do that.
Yeah.
And then back to school night, the parents come again. So those
Mhm.
are 2 opportunities in August and September that I can kind of reach out and meet with them and then express any concerns I may have and make sure, because I don't want to talk openly with other parents in here. So I say,
Right.
let's
Right.
schedule a conference
Yeah.
date and time. So at the moment, I have had 4 conferences. I have another one tomorrow. I have another one on Friday. And then I try to continue, hit them hard during November. And my goal
Okay.
is to try to complete through December before we
Yeah,
end,
go on
before we
break.
go on break.
Gotcha.
And my goal is to meet with the usually the tier 2 students I try to meet with first,
Mhm.
and then explain to parents. And then they do fill out a paper. I tell them that they are going to be in my tier 2 group,
Yeah.
and I meet with them first. Then I try to schedule my higher students or the students who are tier 1 and
Yeah.
achieving well, and some
Okay.
of my overachievers as well too.
Right.
Those are usually towards the end, but I do
Okay.
try to reach out to the parents that if they're having academic troubles, behavioral
Mhm.
problems, I do try to reach out with them, to them
Right.
first.
Have you only worked in a Title I school, or have you worked in?
I actually worked for 2 years at a private Catholic school, St.
Mhm.
Joseph's Catholic School in Winter Haven. I taught kindergarten for 2 years.
Okay.
Um,
Would you say the involvement's like different there, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, I had parents knocking down my door to want to be there all the time.
Yeah.
I had a bigger class, had about 28 students, and I would have parents come in and man a center for me each
Okay.
day. And we had a room mother that would schedule that and schedule
Mhm.
parties, and
Yeah.
it was, yes, it was very different.
Yeah.
And they would be, I'd have a parent sometimes at each center, and
Yeah.
we took lots of field trips, and parents always, there was much more parental involvement
Yeah.
at the private school where I did work. But I have worked at this Title I school for 25 years.
Yeah.
So the answer to that question
Right.
would be yes, most of my career has been
It has
working
been
at
here.
a Title
Okay.
I school, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Hagan, the Director of Community Partnership Schools here at Crystal Lake Elementary.
Can you tell me about the role that you do in this school and specifically how it involves parental involvement?
My role here at Crystal Lake Elementary is to coordinate all of the Community Partnership School supports and services.
Mhm.
So that's 4 different pillars within a Community Partnership School. First is collaborative leadership. So that's working with our 5 core partners. So that's Polk County Public Schools, Heartland for Children, Central Florida Healthcare, Southeastern University, and the United Way of Central Florida. The second pillar would be our expanded learning. So that's tutoring and enrichment. So tutoring would be any of those programs that occur during school or after school that support student learning outside of the traditional classroom. And then enrichment would be things like Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts and dance and media, all of the fun things that kids can learn that also enrich their academic learning. It also helps them to want to come to school.
Yeah.
And so that increases attendance and increases positive behavior. Our third pillar is health and wellness. So looking at here on campus, we have a full service community health center through Central Florida Healthcare that can provide for the primary health needs of students during school, and they never have to leave the school campus. Their parents receive a phone call, the students are taken over by our coordinator, and they're seen and treated